I want to play a moment for you from yesterday's edition of Fox News is the Five that once again highlights one of our favorites, Jessica Tarlov, who is the one liberal host on that five-host show. But one of the things I've been wondering is how right-wing media would deal with the $83.3 million in damages Trump is going to have to pay to E. Jean Carroll based on the recent defamation trial. And of course, this relates to Trump defaming the person he was found civilly liable for raping. And I've been eager to see how Trump advocates in the media would dishonestly talk themselves out of this one, being the people who worked so hard to brand themselves as pro-family values. And they tried to put forward these dishonest responses, but Jessica Tarlov made it very difficult for them. So quickly, the context for this clip is the reporting on Taylor Swift, and I'm dedicating a whole segment today to the MAGA freakout over Taylor Swift, so I won't do another deep dive in this segment. But essentially, the Biden campaign, for obvious reasons, is hoping she'll throw her support behind him like she did in 2020 in this election cycle. And MAGA, long before that, has been angry with her because she dares to encourage people to get registered to vote. Can you imagine? Participate in democracy? Well, Jesse Waters starts saying this is indicative of a terrible Biden re-election strategy, and Jessica Tarlov has the perfect response.
He would welcome him in, and he would say something snarky, I'm sure, about his change in heart over the Iraq war, but he would say, we're all Republicans, right? I want your vote, and here's W endorsing me. The same thing, we talk about these pop stars, right? Donald Trump only has Kid Rock and Vanilla Ice. I'm sure he would like to have more. And people who have the same kind of appeal, we talk about how they could win all the time, like Oprah and Michelle Obama and Taylor Swift, are people who have fans across the country, regardless of their political beliefs.
All right, there you go. Jesse, so President...
How would you scale?
I would say that Joe Biden doesn't even know who Taylor Swift is.
Of course
he didn't even know who the sitting president was.
No, he confused her with Beyonce and Britney. He doesn't even know any of her songs, and she doesn't know any of his policies besides abortion, Jessica. This has all the true love of an arranged marriage. This was probably cooked up in a lab by the women that run the Biden campaign and the beta males that run his social media. These are the same people that bring you Dark Brandon and Dylan are now telling you that Joe Biden is Swift. Swift and the word Joe Biden, nothing to do with each other. I read this article in the New York Times. This is the Biden re-election strategy. Are you ready? Don't run on Bidenomics. Leave the White House more than once a week. Ask Bill and Barack to raise money for you and hope a pop star endorses you. Jessica, this is not the re-election strategy of a winning campaign. This smacks of desperation, and the fact that he's clinging to Taylor Swift, who he couldn't even pick out of a lineup without Jill going like this. That's Taylor. Tells me everything you know about Joe Biden.
Is the strategy to owe $83 million for defaming a woman that you sexually assaulted?
I would love Taylor Swift's endorsement. Any politician would. But I like people like Kid Rock.
Because that was the news from the weekend on that side. And then Joe Biden was 15 minutes late to church. And you think it's the end of the world.
Late to church. He goes to church.
You want to talk? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that lawsuit then. Go ahead, Jessica. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that you shouldn't sexually assault people, and then you shouldn't defame them.
Okay, was he found guilty of sexual assault? He was a
criminal?
criminal?
Was by a jury.
Was a criminal?
That was civil.
Yeah.
Oh, that means it doesn't count? Okay.
It means it's not a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's always nice to bring something up that has nothing to do with the topic.
It does. You said the campaign strategy.
You know, just stop interrupting everybody.
Long week ahead.
Yes, it's only Monday.
Yeah, it absolutely does have to do with the topic. Waters was saying that Biden has a bad campaign strategy. So Tarlov was just wondering if Jesse's guy, if his guy's strategy is the one Biden should be emulating, namely having to pay $83.3 million to a woman you defamed after sexually assaulting. Because that's what Trump's going to be up to. Now, it's wild that they've fallen back on, civil cases don't count. Who cares? Everyone's aware that Trump wasn't found guilty in a criminal trial. Otherwise, he would have to be serving some sort of sentence. The statute of limitations, for one, has passed for a criminal case. So E. Jean Carroll's only plausible recourse at this point for justice was to sue Trump. And her case was so strong and so backed by the evidence that a jury found Trump liable after a trial for raping her. And because a bunch of people, including Rudy Giuliani, are confused about this, and he tried to defend Trump the other day by saying it wasn't rape, it was sexual assault. First of all, it's insane that that's your defense. And second, the judge clarified that under the definition of rape, the sexual abuse Trump was found liable for is indeed rape. But all they can fall back on is either, nah, it was sexual assault, not rape, or, yeah, well, it was just a civil case, so who really cares that he was found liable for rape? Pitiful. And I will keep beating the drum of these are the people who say they're advocating on behalf of family values, and they get to judge other people because they have these great family values. But then seemingly all the family values in the book are violated by their nominee, the civilly liable rapist. And I did want to show you, while we're on this subject, a pretty impactful moment from an interview Carroll conducted on CNN, where she walks through the stress of having to see Trump in the courtroom for the first time since that day, and how it was so frightening until she actually saw him. And then in that moment, he became nothing, lost his power. Take a look.
Preparing to see him was terrifying. The days leading up, as Robbie brought me around stronger and stronger, it was so, I hadn't slept, I hadn't eaten, I couldn't think, I lost my language when she was trying to prepare me to go to do testimony in front of Donald Trump. And then when we were in the courtroom and Robbie went to the lectern, she said, "Good morning, Eugene. Please state your name and spell it for the jury, for the court." And there he was, and he was nothing. He was just no power. He was zero. I was flabbergasted. And from then we just sailed through. She brought me in. She said, "Say your name." And I just looked at Robbie, saw he was nothing, and it came up from there.
Did you make eye contact with him?
Many times.
And what was that like?
He's an emperor without clothes. It's like looking at nothing. It was like nothing.
Were you surprised by that? Because the environment, no, I can imagine, but the environment, not just from what you went through, but also the environment in that courtroom was a very different, very volatile, very heated environment in terms of both Donald Trump's attorney and Donald Trump. For it to end up like that, were you surprised?
Yes, I had been prepared for the worst force, on the earth today, the most powerful, the most effective, the most money, the richest, the most, and there he is, he's nothing.
Why?
It's just the people around him who give him the power.
Pretty incredible. So listen, we can't control the fact, as much as I wish that I could, that so many people in this country refuse to engage with the facts of this case or any of his criminal cases. I wish we could, but we can't, except for on a small level interpersonally. But we can control our ability to go vote, our ability to motivate others to go vote. And now I've really started to do that in my personal life, and people catch on if you take the time to walk them through the importance of this election. Now, to be clear, I don't mean with people who support Trump. Usually that's a lost cause. Instead, with the millions of people who are currently on track not to vote in the next election. If we can reach just a tiny percentage of them, we can reject MAGA extremism and Donald Trump. But you do have to take the time to explain to people, and first I should say, make sure you're prepared to get clear on all the important points that we go through on a daily basis, and then walk through with people how Trump threatens democracy, the specifics of how he tried to overthrow our democratic process to keep himself in the White House last time, the fake elector scheme, the pressuring of local officials to engage in fraud, etc. Walk through his promises to lock up his political opponents, his calls for the termination of the Constitution, him saying the government should come down hard on media outlets, and all the things, again, we talk about on a daily basis. Then the fact that he's a civilly liable rapist. Contrast that with the policy record of Joe Biden, and it's the easiest decision in the world. We are, by the way, going to be working on a guide of sorts that puts down on paper the bullet points you hear me going through every day so that you can easily access it with the sources, clips, linked, all that, and be able to present the facts to people.